Other men liked him. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
as well as women.
And a lot of men were terrified of him because they knew that he would speak the truth. And that scares a lot of people, you know.
Picture this. A young 19-year-old girl walks onto a movie set for the first time in her life. She's nervous, excited, and has no idea that she's about to meet the man who will change everything. That girl was Lauren Bacall, and the man was Humphrey Bogart. What happened next became one of Hollywood's greatest love stories. But for decades, Lauren kept the real truth locked away in her heart. At 84 years old, she finally decided to tell the world what really happened behind the cameras. Most people think they know the story of Bogey and Bacall. They see the movies, read the headlines, and imagine a perfect fairy tale romance. But the truth? The truth was so much more complicated, so much more beautiful, and so much more heartbreaking than anyone ever knew. Today, we're going to dive deep into Lauren Bacall's final revelations about the man she loved more than life itself. When Lauren first stepped onto the set of To Have and Have Not in 1944, she was just a kid from New York with big dreams and even bigger fears. She had been discovered by the wife of famous director Howard Hawks, who saw her picture in a magazine and thought she had something special. But standing there on set, facing Humphrey Bogart for the first time, Lauren felt anything but special. She felt terrified. Bogart was already a huge star. He was 44 years old, 25 years older than Lauren, and he had a reputation for being tough, demanding, and not particularly patient with newcomers. Lauren had heard all the stories about how difficult he could be. She expected him to treat her like just another pretty face trying to make it in Hollywood. She was ready for him to be mean, dismissive, maybe even cruel. But something magical happened instead. Years later, at 84, Lauren would reveal that from the very first moment they met, Bogart was different than she expected. He wasn't the harsh, cold man everyone said he was. Instead, he looked at her with kind eyes and a gentle smile that made her feel like maybe, just maybe, she belonged there after all. Lauren remembered that first conversation like it happened yesterday. Bogart walked up to her, stuck out his hand, and said in that famous gravelly voice, "So you're the girl everyone's talking about." But it wasn't what he said that stuck with her all those years. It was how he said it. There was warmth there, curiosity, and something that felt almost like protection. In that moment, Laura knew that Humphrey Bogart was going to be important in her life, though she had no idea how important. The first thing that surprised Lauren about Bogart was how smart he was. Everyone knew he could act, but she discovered he was also incredibly well-read, thoughtful, and funny in a way that didn't come across in his tough guy movie roles. Between takes, while other actors might gossip or complain, Bogart would talk to Lauren about books, about life, about dreams and fears. He treated her like an equal, not like a kid who didn't know anything about the world. Lauren later revealed that Bogart became her teacher in those early days. He taught her how to handle the pressure of being on a movie set, how to deal with difficult directors, and how to stay true to herself in a business that was always trying to change people. But more than that, he taught her about acting itself. He showed her how to find the truth in a character, how to make even the simplest lines feel real and important. What the public never knew was how insecure Lauren felt during those first months in Hollywood. She was young, inexperienced, and constantly worried that some would figure out she didn't belong there. She would lie awake at night, wondering if she had made a terrible mistake leaving New York. But Bogart saw through all her fears and doubts. He saw something in her that she couldn't see in herself. Lauren remembered one particular day when everything went wrong during filming. She kept messing up her lines. The director was getting frustrated, and she could feel everyone on set getting annoyed with her. She was on the verge of tears, ready to run off the set and never come back. But Bogart quietly walked over to her, put his hand on her shoulder, and said, "Kid, you've got something special. Don't let anybody tell you different." Those words saved her career and maybe her life. As the weeks went by, Lauren and Bogart spent more and more time together. At first, it was just work. They would rehearse scenes, talk about their characters, and help each other prepare for difficult shots. But slowly, something deeper started to grow between them. Lauren began to realize that her feelings for Bogart were becoming more than just professional respect or friendship. The problem was, Bogart was married. His wife was Mayo Method, an actress who was known for her fiery temper and her drinking problem. Their marriage was turbulent, filled with fights and drama that often made headlines in the Hollywood gossip columns. Everyone knew they were unhappy together, but divorce was still a big scandal in those days, especially for major movie stars. Lauren later admitted that falling in love with Bogart was the most confusing time of her life. She was young and had never experienced anything like the feeling she had for him. She knew it was wrong to love a married man, but she couldn't help herself. Every day on set, her feelings grew stronger. Every conversation they had, every look they shared, every moment they spent together made her fall deeper in love. What made it even more complicated was that Lauren could tell Bogart was starting to feel the same way about her. There were moments between them, little touches, shared glances, conversations that went on longer than they needed to. The chemistry that people saw on screen wasn't acting. It was real, and everyone on the set could feel it. Lauren revealed that the hardest part wasn't admitting her feelings to herself. The hardest part was trying to be professional, when all she wanted to do was tell Bogart how she felt. She would go home every night and write in her diary about him, pouring out all the feelings she couldn't express during the day. She kept those diaries for the rest of her life, and at 84, she finally shared some of what she had written all those years ago. The turning point came near the end of filming. Lauren and Bogart were working on one of their most romantic scenes together, and the emotion between them was so real that even the crew noticed. After they finished the take, Bogart asked Lauren to take a walk with him around the studio lot. That walk changed everything. Years later, Lauren would describe that walk as the most important conversation of her life. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. Bogart told her about his unhappy marriage, his fears about getting older, and his dreams for the future. Lauren opened up about her hopes, her insecurities, and yes, her feelings for him. By the end of that walk, they both knew there was no going back. But knowing they loved each other and being able to do something about it were two very different things. Bogart was still married, and Lauren was just starting her career. A scandal could ruin both of them. They tried to keep their relationship secret, meeting quietly, talking on the phone late at night, and stealing moments together whenever they could. The secrecy was killing Lauren. She later admitted that those months were some of the happiest and most miserable of her life. She was in love with the most wonderful man she had ever met, but she couldn't tell anyone about it. She couldn't even be seen with him in public without starting rumors. She felt like she was living a double life. Meanwhile, Bogart's marriage to Mayo was falling apart completely. Their fights were getting worse, and Mayo's drinking was becoming more and more of a problem. Lauren could see how much pain Bogart was in, trying to hold together a marriage that was clearly over while dealing with his growing feelings for her. The public had no idea what was really going on. They saw Lauren Bacall as Hollywood's newest star, confident and glamorous. They saw Humphrey Bogart as the tough guy who had everything under control. But behind the scenes, they were both struggling with a love that seemed impossible. Lauren later revealed that there were moments when she thought about walking away from everything. Maybe she should quit acting, go back to New York, and try to forget about Bogart. Maybe that would be easier for everyone. But every time she made up her mind to leave, Bogart would do something or say something that reminded her why she loved him so much. The breakthrough came when Bogart finally decided to file for divorce from Mayo. It wasn't an easy decision. Divorce could hurt his career, and it would definitely create a media circus. But he told Lauren that he couldn't pretend anymore. He couldn't stay in a loveless marriage when he had found real love with her. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Mayo fought it every step of the way, and the press had a field day with the story. Headlines screamed about Bogart leaving his wife for a young actress. Some people accused Lauren of being a homewrecker. The pressure was enormous, and there were times when Lauren wondered if their love was worth all the pain it was causing. But Bogart never wavered. He protected Lauren from the worst of the publicity and constantly reassured her that everything would be okay. He would tell her, "Kid, we're going to get through this together. What we have is worth fighting for." His strength gave her strength, and somehow they survived the storm. When Bogart's divorce was finally finalized, he and Lauren were free to be together openly. They were married in a small ceremony in 1945, and for the first time in months, Lauren felt like she could breathe again. She was no longer hiding her feelings or pretending to be something she wasn't. She was simply Mrs. Humphrey Bogart, and she had never been happier. Their early married years were like a dream. They worked together on more movies, including The Big Sleep and Dark Passage. They traveled together, entertained friends at their home, and enjoyed being one of Hollywood's most famous couples. Lauren later said that those were the golden years, when everything felt perfect and full of possibility. But Lauren's final revelations weren't just about the good times. At 84, she also talked about the challenges that came with being married to one of the world's biggest movie stars. Bogart was often away on location for months at a time. When he was home, there were constant demands on his time from studios, agents, and reporters. Sometimes Lauren felt like she was sharing her husband with the entire world. There were also the challenges that came with their age difference. When they got married, Lauren was 20 and Bogart was 45. At first, the age gap didn't seem to matter much. But as the years went by, Lauren began to realize that they were in different stages of their lives. She was still young and full of energy, wanted to go out and experience everything the world had to offer. Bogart was more settled, preferring quiet evenings at home. Lauren admitted that there were times when the age difference caused tension between them. She would want to go to parties or take trips, and Bogart would prefer to stay home and read or work on his boat. Sometimes she felt like she was missing out on experiences that other young women her age were having. But every time she started to feel resentful, she would remember how much she loved him and how much he loved her. The real test of their marriage came when Bogart started getting sick. In the mid-1950s, he began having health problems that would eventually be diagnosed as cancer. Lauren watched the man she loved slowly getting weaker, and it broke her heart. But she also saw a side of Bogart that the public never knew about. During his illness, Bogart showed incredible courage and grace. He never complained about the pain or felt sorry for himself. Instead, he focused on spending as much time as possible with Lauren and their two young children. He would tell Lauren jokes to make her smile when she was worried about him. He would plan special family outings when he was feeling well enough. He faced his illness the same way he faced everything else in his life, with dignity and strength. Lauren later revealed that those final months with Bogart were both the most difficult and the most precious of her life. She knew she was losing him, but she also got to see just how deep his love for her really was. Even when he was in pain, he would worry more about how she was handling everything than about his own suffering. The public saw Lauren during this time as a devoted wife standing by her husband, but what they didn't know was how scared she was. She was still young, only in her early 30s, and she couldn't imagine life without Bogart. He had been her teacher, her protector, her best friend, and her greatest love all rolled into one. The thought of facing the world without him was terrifying. Bogart died in January 1957, and Lauren felt like her world had ended. She later described the months after his death as the darkest period of her life. She had loved him completely, and losing him left a hole in her heart that never fully healed. The media attention was overwhelming, with reporters constantly asking her how she was coping and what her plans were for the future. What Lauren revealed at 84 was how lost she felt after Bogart died. Everyone expected her to be strong, to carry on with dignity, to be the perfect grieving widow. But inside, she was falling apart. She didn't know how to be Lauren Bacall without also being Mrs. Humphrey Bogart. She had defined herself so much through their relationship that she wasn't sure who she was on her own. The hardest part was dealing with all the well-meaning people who told her she was young and would find love again. Lauren later admitted that for years, she couldn't even imagine being with anyone else. Bogart had been the love of her life, and she felt like she had already had her chance at happiness. The idea of trying to love someone else felt impossible and somehow disloyal to Bogart's memory. But slowly, with the help of friends and family, Lauren began to rebuild her life. She continued acting, appeared on Broadway, and eventually did find love again with actor Jason Robards. But she always made it clear that while she could love again, no one would ever replace Bogart in her heart. Lauren's final revelation about Bogart was perhaps the most touching of all. She talked about how, Even decades after his death, she still felt his presence in her life. She would catch herself starting to tell him about something that had happened during her day before remembering he wasn't there. She kept his picture by her bed and would sometimes talk to it when she was feeling lonely or uncertain about a decision. She also revealed that she never stopped wearing her wedding ring from Bogart. Even when she married Jason Robards, she wore Bogart's ring on her right hand. It was her way of keeping him close and honoring the love they had shared. She said that ring was the most precious thing she owned, and she planned to be buried wearing it. Perhaps most importantly, Lauren revealed that she never regretted falling in love with Bogart, despite all the pain that came with losing him. She said that loving him had taught her what real love looked like. It had shown her that love wasn't just about the good times and easy moments. Real love meant being there for each other through sickness and health, through public scandals and private fears, through joy and heartbreak. Lauren also talked about the lessons Bogart had taught her that went far beyond love and marriage. He had shown her how to be strong in the face of adversity, how to stand up for what she believed in, and how to maintain her dignity no matter what the world threw at her. She credited him with teaching her how to be not just a better actress, but a better person. The legacy of their love story continued to impact Lauren throughout her entire life. She became known as one of Hollywood's classiest and most dignified stars, and people often said she carried herself with a grace that was rare in the entertainment industry. Lauren credited this to Bogart's influence, saying he had taught her the importance of always being true to yourself and never compromising your values for fame or money. At 84, Lauren Bacall looked back on her life and felt grateful for every moment she had shared with Humphrey Bogart. She knew that their love story had become legendary, inspiring books, movies, and countless articles. But for her, it was never about the legend. It was about the real man she had loved and the real life they had built together. However brief it might have been, Lauren's final words about Bogart were simple but powerful. She said that he had been the greatest gift of her life, and that knowing him had made her a better person in every way. She felt blessed to have been loved by such an extraordinary man, and she hoped that their story might inspire others to fight for love, even when it seemed impossible. In sharing these final revelations, Lauren Bacall gave the world a gift. She showed us that behind the glamorous headlines and movie magic was a real love story, complete with all the joy and pain that comes with loving someone deeply. She proved that some love stories really are worth waiting a lifetime to tell completely. The truth about Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart wasn't just about two movie stars who fell in love. It was about finding your soulmate against all odds, fighting for love in the face of public scrutiny, and carrying that love with you long after the person is gone. It was about the kind of love that changes you forever and makes you grateful for every moment you got to experience it. Lauren Bacall's final revelations remind us that the greatest love stories aren't always the easiest ones. Sometimes the most beautiful love comes with the most pain, but it's still worth having. Her story with Bogart proves that real love can survive anything, even death, living on in memories and hearts long after the final goodbye. If this story touched your heart the way it touched ours, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who believes in true love. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories about Hollywood's greatest legends and the real people behind the fame. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos about the love stories, scandals, and secrets that shaped entertainment history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.